Wi-Fi radiation it does all kinds of bad things, including causing cancer. Wi-Fi radiation causes from your cell phone. I mean, there's cell phone tumors.
RFK Jr. was saying some wild stuff on the Joe Rogan podcast last week about Wi-Fi cell phone radiation causing brain tumors. But then I was listening to the pundits react, and they were saying equally stupid stuff. And it reminded me why the Democrats alienate so many of their would-be voters. It's because Democrats have a tendency to have this elitist, pseudo-intellectual, arbiter truth Gestapo attitude. Like they want to fact-check everybody for your own good, but most of them are not localized domain experts in anything. They're just Googling whatever they read and then putting it out to you. Like, this is why this is harmful, or this is nonsense. Yeah. So let's listen to RFK Jr., actually listen to what he has to say, and see where he might be stumbling on some truths and where he's wandering in the woods by himself. This is the most reasonable video you will watch on fact-checking RFK Jr., I guarantee it.
Low levels of non-ionizing radiation. So let's just be clear about that before we hear, the rest of this complete nonsense.
Wi-Fi radiation it does all kinds of bad things, including causing cancer. Wi-Fi radiation causes from your cell phone. I mean, there's cell phone tumors. I'm representing hundreds of people who have cell phone tumors behind the ear. It's always on the ear that you fake with your cell phone.
Wi-Fi radiation from cell phones is causing brain tumors, and it reminds me of a story. Funny enough, when I was 11 years old, I was up in Northern California at Mad River at my grandfather's house. It was in the middle of nowhere. He was a real Ted Kaczynski type character. And I was watching popcorn pop in the microwave. So there wasn't much to do at his house besides shoot guns and watch popcorn pop. And he came around from the hallway into the kitchen, saw me staring at the microwave, waiting for the popcorn to pop, and he said, "Alec, stop looking at the microwave. It's bad for your eyes." Now, I had never heard staring at the microwave was bad for your eyes. I thought, what is this ridiculous? But I took him seriously because my grandfather was an eye surgeon, and a very accomplished eye surgeon at that. In fact, he's the one who brought intra-ocular lens replacement to the United States. In the late 1970s, it was an experimental surgery. You couldn't get it done in the United States. So my grandfather flew to Germany and worked with a bunch of German eye surgeons who were performing this new lens replacement surgery in Germany, learned how to do it, flew back to the United States, and started practicing it in California. Only place you could get it done. And you know what happened? All the other doctors in California sued him for malpractice. One, because none of the other doctors knew how to do it, so my grandfather was taking away their business. But second, they said, oh, it's dangerous, it's experimental, he's harming patients. So my grandfather gets sued for intraocular lens replacement surgery. And you know what happens? My grandfather wins eventually. He wins against all the other doctors, which is why you can get intraocular lens replacement surgery for cataracts in the United States. You can thank my grandfather for that. Here's an article he published about it in 1981. But it taught me two things. First is that a lot of doctors are cowards, risk adverse, precautionary principle. But the other thing is that the medical community is also full of very smart people. So the claim RFK Jr. is making that the Wi-Fi radiation of cell phones is causing brain tumors, always in the side where the person holds it up to their ear. Let's go through it logically. Doesn't make sense. Well, given the ubiquity of cell phones in our culture, you could find a small number of people that likely have brain tumors and have also used their cell phone. You could find a small group of people that have leukemia and also use their cell phone. You could find a small group of people that have malaria and use cell phones, tuberculosis, use cell phone. You could probably even find a group of people that have used cell phones and have leprosy. Because the volume of people using cell phones is so large, you'll always be able to find a subsect of some people that have something else that's correlatory to the cell phone usage. Correlation does not equal causation, as I'm sure you know.
And we have the science. So if anybody lets us from Wi-Fi radiation causes from your cell phone, I mean, there's cell phone tumors. I'm representing hundreds of people who have cell phone tumors behind the ear. It's always on the ear that you fake with your cell phone. We have the science. So if anybody lets us in front of the jury, it will be over. So what's the number? Because a lot of people, there's a lot of people with they're glioblastomas. That's the kind of cancers that they get. But cancer's not the worst thing. They also, it opens up.
But we're scientific-minded, we're thoughtful, so let's humor RFK Jr. for a moment. Claim is the cell phone Wi-Fi radiation is causing brain tumors. It's getting in there and causing gene mutation. Well, if that's the case, the amount of time your cell phone is next to your ear versus the amount of time a cell phone is next to your crotch is vastly disproportionate. Most of the time, your cell phone is near your crotch, And the cell phone is always sending signals back and forth. Wi-Fi, cellular towers, it's constantly radiating. So if it's causing brain tumors, when you're holding up your phone here, man, we should see a cohort of testicular cancer like we've never seen before. Testicular cancer should be through the roof, because most of the time, cell phones are right next to your crotch, radiating your balls. Which means if RFK Jr.'s claim is true, that it's not correlation, it's causation, that cell phones cause cancer, then we should see an epidemic of ball cancer. Ball cancer should be everywhere, should be the leading cause of concern for men. Their cell phones in their pockets, it's radiating their testicles. But since we haven't seen that, we haven't seen cell phones cause brain cancer, ergo they should cause even more testicular cancer. Since we don't see that played out epidemiologically, most likely not true. And second, in order to do a real study or really test this in a controlled way, it would be very hard to do as cancer is a long-tailed disease. Often it won't rear its ugly head late into someone's life. And since cell phone use is already ubiquitous, how would you get a control group? Tell 30 people, 100 people, 1,000 people they can't use cell phones? Unlikely. You'd have to have your control group using cell phones and then get 1,000 people to come in once a week to a clinic where you blast their side of the head with even more cell phone radiation. You do that every week, 2 times a week, and then you follow those individuals for 10, 20, 30 years and see if those individuals had an increased likelihood for brain cancer. That type of controlled study to see if cell phone radiation is causing brain cancer is just really difficult to pull off due to the length of time it would require.
It opens up, Wi-Fi radiation opens up your blood-brain barrier.
Oh, I guess that wasn't the clip. He does talk about cell phones, maybe in one of the other clips I saw. This is the cell phone one? Okay.
Yeah, keep it going a little more. Okay.
So what do you think Wi-Fi is doing? Since it's everywhere, and since everyone's experiencing, including you, what do you think it's doing?
I think it degrades your mitochondria. And it opens your blood-brain barrier.
Do you see anything online of how it could open up your blood-brain barrier?
I don't know about how, but I
does?
found, I found an article. I was trying to find the validity of it, but it has a statement on here.
Dense, the blood-brain barrier radiation exposure has been shown to affect the permeability of the blood-brain barrier, as well as altering the expression of microRNA within the brain, which researchers state could lead to adverse effects such as neurodegenerative disease. Whoa! How come we don't know that?
There's a doctor that did a study and said that it's been expanded on researchers in China, and there's a published article here, but I was looking around the page.
It's published, and they call it leaky brain.
The findings were followed by suppression, misinformation, and a shutdown of government-funded research in the United States.
It's the same blade.
Oh, we got to get rid of Wi-Fi. What the fuck, Jamie? I wonder if they did that.
Yeah.
Hey, you missed the part where he says, I don't have the expertise. We lost part of the clip at the end of the first one.
All right, yeah.
Sam Cedar and group don't have the expertise either. So what is RFK saying? Anything that is worthwhile? Well, here's some red meat for you guys. There was a study published right here by some doctors that noticed that if you take cell phone radiation or the equivalent hertz of it and you pump it into rats or onto rats, they eat more. They get hungry. Their caloric consumption goes up. And that was interesting. But then some doctors commented saying, well, the animals are small, and the fact that you're blasting them with radiation actually heats up their entire body. You're kind of cooking them. Their entire body's heating up. Their metabolism is also speeding up, which causes them to eat more. Faster metabolism, more hunger, their caloric consumption goes up. And the doctors thought, well, that's fair. We are kind of just cooking these animals, and their metabolism is increasing. So maybe it has nothing to do with anything besides just we're heating up these animals with radiation, and their metabolism is going up, and so they're getting hungry. So they took humans. They took a group of humans and beamed the equivalent of cell phone radiation into the side of their brain. And you know what they noticed? They noticed the caloric consumption went up. That after being exposed to this cell phone radiation in the brain, whatever was going on with the lab equivalent of a cell phone radiation hitting the side of the brain was making humans hungrier. It was increasing their appetite by 20 to 27%, a not insignificant effect size. And I thought, well, what's going on? So they did a CT scan, or maybe it was a PET scan, and they looked at the brain, and they saw that the hypothalamus was activating, that the radiation was activating the hypothalamus, which is activating the CNS, and making them hungry. It was stimulating their appetite. So there you have a direct causative reason. The radiation was activating the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus was causing hunger in the brain, and humans were eating more calories than they normally would. Which leads to an interesting conclusion that not many people are talking about, that the rise of cell phone usage is increasing obesity rates. That there is a tentative link between the rise of cell phone usage and or maybe the rise of American obesity epidemic. That people are consuming more calories than they would normally because of cell phones, which is increasing our obesity rates in society. I'll link the study down below, but the science is much more compelling than RFK Jr.'s hypothesis and conclusion about radiation causing a brain tumor from the cell phone. And with RFK Jr.'s voice and platform, I wish he would bring up novel, interesting studies with more scientific heft behind them that people aren't talking about that could be useful in cultural conversation than weak, tenuous, correlatory information. Let me know what you guys think of the video. Thank you for watching. Catch you guys in the next one. Bye.